I found that most big-hearted people that want to help want to be able to influence those that they love in a really positive kind of way. Whether this person they want to influence because they genuinely care about them is their son or daughter, one of their parents, maybe even a grandchild. It could be a spouse, a friend, or really anyone else that you hold dear. We really want to be able to help the people that we love, the people that we hold dear. And so my heart goes out to those of you who are watching this who feel that same way, who are big-hearted and open-hearted and want to be able to influence people for the positive so that they can see more of the power that they actually have, so they can see that they can be successful, that they can grow, that they can transform. And so this video is not just on theory, it's on my own experience and the experience I've seen of many other people on how you actually can influence others positively. Now, I think it's being taught to us that the way in which to influence someone, or we've kind of been conditioned into this, is in a forceful kind of way. And I don't mean aggressive, like physical kind of way, although it can include that. But we've been taught that you kind of have to tell someone what to do. They don't know what's good for them, and so you have to be the one who tells them what's good for them. And so we learn all of these ways that don't work, that end up only looking like, from the other side of the coin, so the other person, as emotional blackmail, or pushiness, or obligatory things that we're telling them to do. Now, this is how I went about it when I wanted to really influence the people that I love to really move in directions I thought was positive. But I'm sure you've experienced this as well. When you come from that more, you've got to check this out, you've got to read this, I think this thing's really going to help you, please look at it. And it's kind of this kind of more pushy type of way of doing it. Not only does it almost never work, but it a lot of the time causes the person to want to move even further away from the thing that you initially think is going to help them. And so the first thing I just want to mention, kind of bringing it all together, is that anything that seems forceful, even if that's not the intention, anything that seems pushy, anything that's coming from a place where they are made to feel like they have to do this or they're obligated to, whether at a small or high level, is not going to have any effect. In the positive, it's only going to push someone sometimes in the other direction. Again, I believe this is incredibly well-intentioned, but we are all here as divine sovereign beings. We are all here going through this experience with the free will to make our own choices. And even when you believe what you're doing is good for the person, they have to come to that conclusion themselves. And I'm going to go over how you can help facilitate that in a very ethical way. But really, shoving something down someone's throat or persisting on something isn't going to work. And when we really dissect it long enough, would you really want someone only to act upon something because you told them to, or because you wanted them to, and they didn't really want to do it? Wouldn't it be better if the person you're aiming to influence actually wanted to do that thing and came to it by their own volition, actually chose it themselves? That sounds great, I hear you say. But what can we do about that? So I'm going to give you a few things. First and foremost is to remember this perspective, to remember this philosophy, that to be able to give, you can only give from a filled cup. So many people are going around trying to give advice, trying to give, basically, you should do this, you should do that. But then if you flip it on them and look at what they're doing, they only have an empty to half-filled cup, and they haven't done what they need to take care of themselves. It's like one of those things, hey, you should go do this thing that's going to help you to take care of yourself and improve your life. But then are you doing those same things for yourself? I honor anyone who believes that you can actually give something you don't have, but in my own experience, it's been the opposite. I have not been able to give things that I haven't actually had a filled cup that was overflowing myself. But when you have an overflowing cup, when you really, from a genuine heart-based place, from a more awakened place, when you really have that, you are able to give at such a high level. And you're going to be able to give at the level I'm going to describe next. And what I'm going to describe next is really what I have found to be the only way to positively influence something, or someone, I should say. We've already gone over how force doesn't work. That's not really the avenue I would invite you to go down. You can still go down that route, and you might like that route. But for really big-hearted, open people, I don't think that's the route they want to go down. So I'm going to explain how not only does filling your own cup it isn't selfish in traditional sense, but it's actually what's going to help more people, and especially those close to you. Now, before we move on to why you want to fill your own cup up first and why that's the most effective, I just want to throw one other thing in there. You don't do this so that someone you love does a thing. You don't fill your own cup, you don't grow because you want then someone in your life to change in a very specific way. That's not how it works. That's not actually allowing them to come to their own decisions. That's again trying to force, okay, if I do A, B, and C, then C is they will change, they will grow. No, it's a happy byproduct of what I'm about to go over. But if you come from that mentality of where you're becoming outcome dependent and you're not able to let go and detach from them having their own free will to make the choice to do these things, then it's not going to work. But if you let go of that and you do what I'm going to go over next, or at least try it on and see if it works for you, I can almost promise you that the people around you are going to be, let's just say, more encouraged to do things that are actually going to be good for them. So why I mentioned filling your own cup up is because something very crucial happens when you do that. You are not just someone saying things, it's not just lip service, it's not the person handing you, trying to get you to read a self-development book that they haven't read themselves or they're not living themselves. You know, like when someone posts a meme or like a saying and you kind of know that person and you went, why are they posting this? They don't live this. They're not in congruence with this, right? It's more wanting people to believe that they are. And that's why a lot of people, you know, when you try and tell them what to do, they're like, you know, it's not really coming across that way. It's not coming across as helpful because are you even doing this? But when you fill your own cup, you become the invitation and example. You become the lighthouse that is just a shining example of what's possible, which serves as a beautiful example for those who are ready and gently invites them to do similar things, which will get them to a similar place. And this is so beautiful because you're just filling up your cup. You're not saying to anyone that you have to change, but if you are drawn to change, if you enjoy how I'm presenting myself, if you like the life I live and I've created through being the example and the invitation, through the lessons that I've learned, through the things I have experienced, well then I would like to extend you an invitation to learn how to do that. But there's no pressure to take it. Can you see how that is a much more appealing thing for someone versus like, hey, here's this self-development book, you gotta read this. Here, take this, and that. One is you leaning back and being the gentle example and invitation for that person without being attached with what they do with it. It's not a gift if you have some kind of dependency on what they do with it. It's a gift when it is given and then you let go of what they're actually going to do with it. So don't be attached by what they do, but what happens is when you are truly living in a higher conscious place, when you are truly awakening, not just visiting this place, but living in this place, and you're focused on your own growth, people will start to be drawn to you. They will attract. Remember, like attracts like. People who are interested in living in a similar way, tapping into those things, seeing your example, seeing how your life is improving. It's like, wow, look at that person, my mother, my son, whatever it is. Wow, look at how much their life has improved. What are they doing? They seem happier. They seem more fulfilled. They seem all of these things. Then suddenly the curiosity begins to happen. Then suddenly the drawing in towards the light instead of you trying to go to them and throw all these things on them. So does this guarantee that the loved one you're thinking of as we go through this, maybe it's an audience like I have here, right? Like all I can really do is be the invitation and example. I can't force people to watch these or apply any of the information in them. It's not my job. But perhaps it's that. Perhaps it's a family member. Perhaps it's a close friend or whoever else it is, a spouse. If you do this, you become the invitation and example, you are giving them every opportunity to change for the positive. If you force, if you ask them to do something that they didn't ask for, you're only going to push them further away from it and also lead to your own frustration. And of course, in the spirit of what I just mentioned, this is a simple invitation and example for you. You can take it on board or you don't have to take it on board. It's up to you. But you know, from doing this for many, many different years, from coaching people how to do the same, I have seen that this is what works and the forcing is what doesn't. I've even seen this process work on some people close in my life. There are some people that have been close to me, and I won't go into any further detail, but I thought I would never have a really good relationship with to in the past I thought that to where now it's so close because I came from this instead of trying to force or make them change. Now, if you want to truly learn and more importantly experience what it's like to be the invitation and example, I actually have a free training that you can get down below called the 5 Keys to Lasting Transformation. I break it down. It's a pretty quick training you can go through and start to apply right away. So if you truly want to learn how to come from less of the forcing, pushing mentality and more from the lighthouse, drawing in, attraction-based, filling your own cup and giving from your overflow, I would go check out that training, because ultimately, if you apply those 5 things, you will become that. But if you don't, it's going to be very difficult, if not damn near impossible. So go check that out if that resonates with you. So one thing that's going to make it very difficult for you to be the invitation and example is what I go over in this video. And in that video, I go over what the biggest block is for people who are trying to grow spiritually and be the invitation and example, because that's a lot of where we get to when we do this work. So I would have you go watch that next. It's one of my favorite videos actually I've ever made. It's going to go over what this thing is and also give you some things you can do moving forward to also become the invitation and example.